All right, folks. Well. What do we got? What are we gonna do in this one? This is a big project, and this is gonna be a real labor of love for me, because we're gonna continue what we're doing as far as the going through the years sort of chronologically. So I did some shorter episodes on started with 1969. Obviously I could go back, but I just picked that year random as a sort of benchmark in music, where we can look at a lot of different stuff. But we're up to 1971, and this one already has sort of they did Apple, I think, did a series on 1971 as a year that changed music, or not the year that changed music, but the year that music sort of had a difference than previous years, as far as the quantity or the quality, or both. So I'm just going in that order, but it is looking into 1971. That was the year that I came into this world, and it does have a lot of stuff. So I'm gonna to break it down. I'm gonna do 1971, but this time I'm gonna do it a little bit longer and more expansive than previous years, just because of the artists and the styles. So basically, this is going to be the first part of a 7-part series on 1971, and basically I'm going to be doing part 1. I'm going to be doing rock music, blues, folk, prog rock, funk, R&B, fusion, and world music. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting ride on this one. And I wouldn't want to do a little bit more long form, a little bit more deep dive on some of this stuff. But with this, I'm kind of doing a retrospective, a cross section on the year. And I think it's going to be a really fun journey with this. So look forward to hearing any feedback whatsoever. So anyway, I'm going to do about 4 tunes in the rock field. So yeah, there's going to be a lot left out, but I'm going to talk about some honorable mentions. And this is just a list that's sort of, it's semi-random, but I feel like it has a nice cross section, and I'm going to leave out some of the big ones and try to include some of the lesser known ones that I feel like need to be and there are going to be some that I've heard and some that I haven't heard. I've definitely tried to include some that I have little experience with. So first, we're going to start off with this was the debut album, came out in February 1971, and we'll talk about it. Yeah, we're gonna talk, because I want to talk about the players before we hear it. So, number 1 in rock, we're gonna do part 1 rock. Debut, written by Danny Whitten, released in February 1971. Their debut album, and on guitar we got Danny Whitten, written by Danny Whitten, Nils Lofgren on guitar, Jack Nietzsche on piano, Billy Talbot on bass, and Ralph Molina on drums. And this song is called Downtown. Turn it up. Okay, I'm gonna pause it a little bit, maybe more in these, because we'll see. Let me know in the comments if it's something where you want me to sporadically just pause it real quick, not in between solos and stuff and key moments, but if you want me to pause it more to talk about what I'm feeling right in the moment, because I have not heard this. I've heard the Neil Young version that I think has the band for the most part, and is on the Neil Young Tonight's the Night album, I think. And anyway, so yeah, I have not heard this, but obviously know the song pretty well. So far, yeah, it's different. It's cool. It's a little. It feels like it's a little faster. It's obviously a little tighter. I think the one on Neil Young was maybe live. So yeah, there's some production quality to it, but and then obviously Neil Young is not on the vocals and probably not on the guitars for this one. So, but it sounds just as cool. Nils Lofgren. I don't know I know he's played with a lot of people. I've probably heard him through playing with a lot of other people. And other than Neil Young, I think I remember him playing with him. But anyway, I'm going to jump it back a little bit, and we'll continue this. So far, yeah, I'm going to dig into I haven't listened to the rest of the album because I'm just kind of waiting for this. So I'll probably listen to the rest of the album. But I know this one's, really good because I've already kind of heard it. So anyway, let's keep it going. Kick it back. I'd hit that repeat off. Okay, so right off, yeah, this is one where, even though I've heard the Neil Young one, back in the day, this was one that I would I would rewind it, first of all, because it was on a tape probably, so I would instantly rewind it to the beginning of the song and do it again. Because, yeah, this is one I could definitely put on repeat, just because it's such a fun groove. And that part where they speed it up just for like a couple measures. I don't know if it's double time exactly, but that part's like, oh, they picking it up, and then they go right back to that slow groove, which is, it's like just a hair awkward, but it's a beautiful like experiment for that, because it really, I love it. I love music that like jars, listeners, and really takes you, pushes you around a little bit, and just like, no, we're gonna do this, and you're just like, oh, what's going on? So yeah, the fact they did that, I don't know if that's something they were, because they seem like they're a really, down home band, not somebody who's trying to like be experimental. But that was fun. Anyway, that was really interesting, that part, and the rest of it, lyrically, yeah, I've never. I think the lyrics is a lot more, listenable, a lot more understandable in this version than the Neil Young. Because the Neil Young, maybe because it was a harmony, I didn't know necessarily what they were saying in every moment. But this one, yeah, you can hear it a little bit clearer. I noticed on the second verse, and I'll put the lyrics up when I do. You'll probably see them now when I put them up on the when I edit it a little bit. Snake eyes, French fries, and I got lots of gas. Full moon and a jumping tune. Now you don't have to ask. Sure enough, they'll be selling new stuff when the moon begins to rise. Pretty bad when you're dealing with the man and the light shines in your eyes. Yeah, great encapsulation of a fun night out going downtown and having all the party favors, and all of a sudden shit hits the fan. Anyway, yeah, love the lyrics. Always loved this tune. Was Neil Young came on, I was like, this is a instant energy. Anyway, obviously that's love that tune. But let's get into a little bit of the I mentioned the players in this. Danny Whitten, vocals also, I didn't say, obviously, and it looks like he had probably someone else singing. I don't know who was singing with him, if it was Nils Lofgren or any of the other, Jack Nietzsche, Billy Talbot, Ralph Molina on drums. But yeah, Danny Whitten wrote it, probably, lead singer, and he had some people backing him up in the band. But anyway, yeah, it came out in 1971, debut. Apparently it was the only album by the band to feature Whitten without Neil Young. So that's cool. It's nice to hear the band in their original form. The album reached number 84 on the Billboard 200 album chart. All right, not too bad. This is another thing that I thought was amazing when I started. There's a lot of stuff in this that's taught me a lot of stuff. Looking into this one particular series, I had a lot of moments where I was just like, dumbfounded, or realized I didn't even realize this for. Even if I knew the band, there's stuff that I was like, I didn't realize I didn't know this for 20 years, 30 years, or whatever. I was like, oh. So that's the benefit for me of doing these. And hopefully this stuff, I also want to pass all this stuff to other people, because I know those moments of finding either just new music or finding out new information, can be really a really enjoyable experience, and foster hopefully more searching and more looking a little bit deeper. I was never one to, go into I didn't read if I had albums, which I didn't have albums when I was growing up. I had tapes, so I wasn't reading the liner notes typically. I didn't always know who the players were. I didn't, there's a lot of the stuff I didn't, obviously back then we had the library, we didn't have the internet, so we weren't going into, we didn't have videos to watch, we didn't have books to read. I guess we had the magazines. You can go pick up the latest rock magazine and hear the dirt or something, I guess. But anyway, other than that, we just had the music and what other people told us. So yeah, I'm sure I did a deep dive on everything that I'm going to listen to, but I didn't come up with a whole lot on Crazy Horse, other than, obviously this is their debut album. They did it without Neil Young. And as we know, they went on and I think Danny Whitten had a slow demise or a fast demise. I'm not sure how slow or fast the demise was, but yeah, he had issues with drugs and or alcohol, and didn't make it too far down the line with Neil Young. And I think that's what a lot of the Tonight's the Night album, the themes to it had it. So yeah, it has a sad element to the story with Danny Whitten, because yeah, he had a great voice. I'm trying to think what it reminded me of, but you don't have to have a comparison for everything. But he had a really nice, sort of raw, similar to Neil Young, but a little grittier and a little bit more like a little sandy. But yeah, very listenable voice. I love his voice. I would listen to, if the songs back it up, I would definitely listen to his stuff, because yeah, really cool. So yeah. Now that I got opportunity, I'm just going to jump a little bit let's do some of the stuff in the rock field that was going on at the time, just to do some honorable mentions. We're going to do, other albums that came out in 1971 in the rock genre, more or less. You had Santana's third album, Doors, L.A. Woman, Hendrix' Cry of Love, which obviously came out after he passed away, so it was kind of a post, not really an official album. The Doobie Brothers debut album, Billy Joel debut album, Cold Spring Harbor, ZZ Top's debut album, Thin Lizzy's debut album, Paul Pena's debut album, which if you don't know him, I'm going to do him at some point because he's really good. Derek and the Dominoes, Deep Purple, ELP, Alice Cooper. Obviously, I didn't name all the albums, but, you can look that up. Led Zeppelin, the fourth. The Who, The Doors, I said, Little Feat, and, Chase. I guess we can put them in rock. They're kind of rock jazz or rock funk. But yeah, those are some honorable mentions for albums that also came out in 1971 that I'm not going to do. And let's see. Let's get into a little bit of 1971 culture, and then I'm going to move on to the second song. 1971. Here's some, just so we know like what was going on. I was born in 1971, but I don't know, I was born in December 1971, so I really wasn't there for the whole year. But hopefully some of this music was in the hearing in the womb at the time. Maybe that's why. Maybe I have a certain bias towards it. I don't know. But the Pentagon Papers came out in 1971. Here's some of the big things: school busing. Lieutenant William Calley found guilty, premeditated murder. My Lie. Okay, I'm just going in order chronological. There was a cigarette ad ban, January 1. In January, we had All in the Family premieres. Charles Manson convicted. Frank Serpico shot. The second largest stock exchange, NASDAQ, was established, 1971. Apollo 14, third crew mission, landed on the moon. Switzerland holds a referendum on women's suffrage. Nixon's paranoia heightens, February. So those are some of the things. There's a couple months, and each listen, I'm going to do a couple more months just to give, I'm sure a lot of my listeners were around, but, it's just kind of fun to see because it's thought of generally as kind of a tumultuous year in society, which every year kind of is, but more or less. But so I like to see that along with the music, what was going on, because a lot of that feeds, what was going on in society, what come before 1970. I'm kind of fed the music. Anyway, let's continue. And we're going to go in. So we had Downtown. And now let me see. I'm going to go in. Okay, I'm going to do one that, let's do this one. Let's see. This one's really interesting. So I'm going to go into 1971. This is another debut album. This one I have heard. And it was by David Crosby, If I Could Only Remember My Name, released February 22. And here's some things I didn't realize. I didn't know that some of the Grateful Dead had such a prominent role in this album. When I first heard it, I had no idea. So David Crosby on guitar and vocals, Graham Nash on vocals and guitar, Jerry Garcia on pedal steel, Phil Lesh on bass, Bill Kreutzmann on drums, and Joni Mitchell on vocals on this particular tune called Laughing. And this is the fun of this one because I loved the song. When I heard it, I was like, this is such a moody song, and I didn't realize what it was about. I didn't realize all these players were on it. So yeah, it's a fun little wake up call. But anyway, let's listen to it. We'll talk about it a little bit. And this one's called Laughing.
I thought I met a man who said he knew a man who knew what was going on. I was mistaken. this darkness. I was mistaken. Only reflections of a shadow that I saw.
Yeah, hearing it this time, obviously I've heard this song before, listened to it in my car, blah, blah, blah. This time, yeah, I'm focusing, listening with headphones, focusing more on the instrumentation. And, yeah, with headphones, I'm trying to hear the different instruments because it's such a space. It's such a, the panning and the stereo is really interesting. It's so interesting to hear like where everything is. Is it coming from behind, from front? Imagine the day. That's why they started getting into like the not stereo, but quadraphonic, front and back and left and right and all that. Great intentions. Anyway, yeah. So what am I hearing? I hear the pedal steel a little bit now. I hear acoustic, some different acoustic guitars. And the vocals, I heard the tambourine and the bass. Yeah, bass is really cool. Bass started to get a little bit of distortion. I don't know if it was like overdriven on purpose, but it sounded like there's got a little crusty flavor to it near the end there, which I wasn't, maybe didn't hear before. But yeah, some of the Dead and it really does have like a kind of, it still has that sort of, sounds like it could be a Crosby, Stills and Nash song, and Young. And I think I first heard it when it was on the box set, Crosby, Stills and Nash and Young, so I didn't necessarily know like where it started to diverge into Crosby's solo and Stephen Stills solo, or with Manassas or Graham solo work. So it was all kind of just in one big ball. But and when I was trying to find this song again, I forgot that it was his solo that it was on, because I kept looking through Crosby, Stills and Nash. I'd find the demo of it, and I was like, where is this song? I know but no, I forgot. It's David. It's on his solo album. So amazing. It's an amazing album. And anyway, let's continue. I'm going to back it up a little bit, and let's see where they go now. Sounds like they're coming to a change, but it could be the next verse. Perfect. That was one of the, I think they said in some of the producer of this album said it was such a perfect, just landed, took off and landed perfectly, had a specialness to it. So yeah, this is one I remember sitting in my car listening to it, and I was like, God, this is such a perfect, it's just a trip, you know. You close your eyes, it's like, and as in, you know, when Joni Mitchell and the David Crosby and Graham Nash harmonies come in, you feel like that's the apex. Like, okay, they're sending it. You're at the top of the mountain, you know, and where they're going to go from here, you know, and then you got a minute left, and it's just Jerry Garcia's pedal steel just floating, you know, and he just keeps it. He sounds, you know, and I like Jerry Garcia, but I'm by no means, you know, I don't know how to say it, but I like him. Not all the time. I just look at the things he does that I like, and I was like, oh, yeah, okay. But I have to give him it on this one. I was like, I don't know what, he was really just feeling it. And apparently, you know, he hadn't been playing pedal steel for very long up to this point, but I think he took a real discipline into it, you know, before recording and doing the sessions with David Crosby. There was a lot of sessions. There was a lot of interplay, a lot of rehearsal, a lot of playing. So he really could dig in deep. But I think it's perfect. Yeah, Jerry Garcia is just beautiful, serene, sublime. So let's see. This album peaked at number 12 on the Billboard Top LPs chart. Recording the Cross-Pollinating Association dubbed Planet Earth Rock and Roll Orchestra from 1970 to 1971. Wally Heider Studios in San Francisco became the second home for Crosby and crew. In-house engineer Stephen Barncard had worked hundreds of hours to get CSN&Y Deja Vu to completion as the members jockeyed for control. So in this one, he used innovative mic techniques, ran tape at 30 inches per second, considered absurdly extravagant in order to preserve a wider range of frequencies and more detail overall. Crosby tuned his D45 by ear rather than digitally, and they kept the tapes running all the time, so no scrap of inspiration would be lost. To the part tuning his D45 by ear, I don't know, digitally, I don't know what they were using digital means to tune it, but whatever he was using to tune it, I don't think tuning it by ear is not that out of place. I think a lot of players probably tune by ear up to a point. After it gets, you know, tuned in general, you can tune it by ear a little bit to make sure it's really where you want it to be. So that's one of those facts that are like maybe put a little bit more too much sauce on that one. But yeah, the one thing I didn't know about this song that was written, let me talk about the lyrics first. Where the shit is this? Okay. Basically, I thought I met a man. I'm going to put the lyrics up here. I thought I met a man who said he knew a man who knew what was going on. I was mistaken. Only another stranger that I knew. And I thought that I'd found the light to guide me through my nights and all its darkness. I was mistaken. It was only reflections of a shadow that I saw. And I thought I'd seen someone who seemed at last to know the truth. I was mistaken. Only a child laughing in the sun. Okay, let's continue. So we were just giving the lyrics on David Crosby, and so was written for George Harrison after the disillusionment with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi in India, which George Harrison had the probably strongest lasting reaction to it. Well, the rest of the Beatles went also and had some limited connection, let's say. But yeah, I didn't know that. That was really interesting. Written for George Harrison. Pretty cool. So yeah, David Crosby also. I like to throw in some sort of, any other reactions to it. It's not just like a love fest necessarily, but I like to throw in some of the things at the time, the critics at the time, what they thought about the album. It's interesting because obviously years later, you get a much different viewpoint. Everything's sort of given a little bit more meaning and acceptance. But the Village Voice said that it was disgraceful and gave it a D- for records. Rolling Stone said it was perfect oral aid to digestion. Melody Maker said there's nothing on this album that doesn't warrant the expression really nice. So yeah, those were some big voices at the time. Rolling Stone, Melody Maker, and Village Voice did not seem to care for this album too much. And we can go into this album deeper. This is certainly could be a potential album listen among many, many others. But I just think it's just interesting to hear this. So it made me question my own reasons for liking some of these songs so much when there were apparent critics that just, maybe in comparison to what else was going on or what was happening previously compared to CSNY, who knows, what where it's at in the perspective. But interesting to hear that. Anyway, so that's David Crosby, Laughing. We're into song number 3 in the rock genre, 1971. Released December 17th. Yeah, a couple in my birthday month. So it was Hunky Dory. David Bowie, guitar, vocals, saxophone. Michael Ronson, guitar. Woody Woodmansey, drums. Trevor Boulder, bass. And Richard Wakeman on piano. And I think this would, aside from, other than Richard Wakeman, I'm not sure if he was, have to go into that, but I think this was what would become the band on the Spiders from Mars from Ziggy Stardust. But I don't know how much Rich Wakeman was on that one also. And this one I've really kind of gone back and forth about which one to play. I've heard this album, but because this is sort of on just focusing on 1971, I did want to do a song that had a particular strength, but not the most popular. So and I listened to some cool things about it, so I'm going to do this one. And it definitely had somewhat jarring, like trying to figure out what is this for me when I first heard it. And here we go. This is Oh You Pretty Things off Hunky Dory. Come on, 1971. Here we go. Sorry.
Wake up, you sleepy head. Put on some clothes, shake up your bed. Put another log on the fire for me. I made some breakfast and coffee. Look out my window, what do I see? A crack in the sky and a hand reaching down to me. All the nightmares came today, and it looks as though they're here to stay. What are we coming to? No room for me, no fun for you. I think about a world to come, where the books were found by the golden ones, written in pain, written it all by a puzzle man who questioned what we were here for. All the strangers came today, and it looks as though they're here to stay. Oh, you pretty things, don't you know you're driving your drivers insane? Oh, you pretty things, don't you know you're driving your drivers insane? Let me make it plain, gotta make way for the Holy Superior. Look out at your children, see their faces in golden rays. Don't kid yourself, they belong to you. They're the start of the coming race. The author's a bitch, we finished our news. Homo sapiens have outgrown their use. All the strangers came today, and it looks as though they're here to stay.
Okay, I'm gonna pause it real quick. Yeah, obviously when we first heard this album, it's an evolution of Bowie. Obviously, he had his first album, and then The Man Who Sold the World, and this one goes in a very new direction. It's really focused on, obviously the first song changes. Anyway, to me, this song, obviously, I didn't know what it was about when I first heard it. I just knew it was about something where, basically about the generational change is what you kind of get overall, and how it feels like there's every generation there's a new set of aliens into this world that we have to deal with, and they have a whole new set of instructions, a whole new set of beliefs, and the struggle that ensues. But yeah, there's more to it. There's definitely some lyrically. It's really, obviously with Bowie, the vocabulary, each word is meant to mean something, or it's meant to evoke some kind of, not necessarily a straight meaning, like, oh, just read this and it's very clear. No, he used a lot of, symbolism and things in his cut and paste method of where it's just, but it evokes, you can't cookie cutter it into like, it fits this into this piece of the puzzle, but it's more of just like, you just sort of get this almost like aesthetic feel, or you just get this sort of feeling from it. You sort of goes in through your pores. Anyway, yeah. But so far, yeah, the piano, and I think before the song there was the 8-line poem, I believe, or it's either before or after. I don't have the track listing, but yeah, this album's very different too, because it feels even more personal than The Man Who Sold the World. It feels very personal, and he's also using a lot of, whatever he's reading, his beliefs and his ideologies at the time, and his things are sort of really filtering into his lyrics and his beliefs and stuff like that. So, yeah, to me, this song was jarring when I first heard it. I was just like, what? Oh my God, what is he saying? Anyway, let's jump back a little bit, and before it pops off again. And obviously, it's great. The piano, great singing, great vocals, and then when it comes in, it's just like a hammer, right? It's so groovy, and it's got the claps. Like, I didn't hear you, the claps. Everything is just like clamping down. Here we go.
All the strangers came today, and it looks as though they're here to stay. Oh, you pretty things, don't you know you're driving your promise and promise insane? Oh, you pretty things, don't you know you're driving your promise and promise insane? Let me make it plain, gotta make way for the hope superior.
And yeah, and obviously, the piano evokes, thinking about that just in the moment, is that piano part in the beginning and in the ending. That piano part feels very like older generation Britain music. It's like more show, a little bit more like just definitely older generation. It's like even the chords are very just like dun, 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 dun. It's just very basic. So yeah, I don't know if he used that as far as to sort of enhance the meaning of like, we're going from this sort of like everybody's, all the parents in their nice jackets and suits, listening to proper music, smoking and drinking in the pub, and then all of a sudden the new generation comes in, and the drums come in, it's like dun, 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 and it's like, yeah, jarring. So it could be. I mean, it definitely fits it, whether it was meant to be or not. But that's my initial feeling. Like, it's because the piano is kind of out of place in ways. It's a change. So anyway, David Bowie. Gotta Do Him, 1971. This one reached 57 on the Billboard charts. Bowie said, "I'm not ashamed of wearing dresses, but unfortunately it's detracted from the fact that I'm also a songwriter. One thing that I noticed is the way you use words." This is in an interview. "Like in Andy Warhol, where you transformed the word wall into Warhol. I mean, the way you listen to speech and incorporate it into sound." And Bowie says, "Well, one can say I sentenced to 3 people, and it'll take on an entirely different meaning for each of those 3 people. I think if any of my stuff becomes at all surrealistic, it's because that's the purpose of it. It's to give people their own definitions. I certainly don't understand half the stuff I write. I can look back on a song that I've just written, and it means something entirely different now because of my new circumstances. I get told by so many people, especially Americans, what my songs are about." And he goes on, "Yeah, America is made up of academics. They're very Germanic in that respect because they are so subconsciously aware of being a new nation that has no accepted roots in the old world. They strive for their own culture as fast and as quickly as they can. Whatever it isn't needed is soaked up by the media and becomes part of the American way of life. They're terribly self-conscious about everything. The level to which rock music has become an academic subject is just incredible." He says, "I could walk into a shop and see row upon row of books about any aspect of rock. I mean writers about rock, I mean writers about writers. This song in particular, yeah, wake up, you sleepyhead. Put on some clothes, shake up your bed. Put on another log of fire for me. I've made some breakfast and coffee. Look out my window, what do I see? A crack in the sky and a hand reaching down to me. All the nightmares came today, and it looks as though they're here to stay." Yeah, Crack in the Sky, and there was a band Crack in the Sky. I wonder if they got that from this lyric. But obviously that has a symbolic for a crack in the sky, a crack in the reality, and a hand reaching down. Anyway, fantastic lyrics. No room for me, no fun for you. And all the strangers came today. Yeah, I always thought, all the pretty things, and I think... Actually, I read that Peter Noone actually did this song before David recorded it, or he had recorded it, and Peter Noone of Hermit and the Hermits decided he wanted to do it for a demo, and I think it had some popularity, but then I haven't listened to that. I should listen to it, just if I had it right now. Yeah, and obviously the part where a lot of people get hung up, it's all you pretty things. They're thinking it is sort of a aesthetic, the beauty of the children, that we didn't understand, the mamas and the papas, but not the mamas and the papas, but the band, but but yeah, apparently it didn't really have that exact interpretation. It wasn't you pretty things. It was just the meaning of a new race, a new style, and being thought of as, they just sort of put it as pretty. But I think also he was reading a lot of probably like, I think they said Nietzsche at the time, a bunch of other writers, were this sort of idea of like a Superman, which he called, Homo sapiens have outgrown their use. Now we have Homo superior. So I think at the time hearing this, the earth is a bitch, we finished our news. That one that's a lyric I didn't realize. I didn't know what he said. He said something is a bitch, but I never actually understood that lyric. Anyway, yeah, great song and a great album. Let's just do, let's just do some of the singles that came, because there's going to be a big difference between what we're talking about albums and in all the genres, but just in rock. But let's just start with the top 10. In 1971, you had Three Dog Night, Joy to the World, Rod Stewart, Maggie May, Carole King, It's Too Late, The Osmonds, One Bad Apple, Bee Gees, How Can You Mend a Broken Heart, The Raiders, Indian Reservation, another Donny Osmond, Go Away Little Girl, John Denver, Take Me Home Country Roads, The Temptations, Just My Imagination, and Tony Orlando and Dawn, Knock 3 Times. That was the top 100 at the time, at the year-end edition, December 25th, 1971. So I'm going to do some more of those as we go through the different genres, but just to get some of the singles, obviously they're not going to be I'm focusing more on albums, and they're going to be a little bit different list. Some of the top albums of 1971 by some, this isn't Billboard, but just by some of the ratings, some albums do. But you've got Marvin Gaye, What's Going On, Led Zeppelin 4, Black Sabbath, Masters of Reality, Can, Tego Mago, Blue, Joni Mitchell, Alice Coltrane, Journey in Sacha Donata, Hunky Dory, David Bowie, number 7, Pink Floyd, Metal, Songs of Love and Hate, Leonard Cohen, and Comus, First Utterance, which some of these I've never heard. I'm going to actually do them in the folk. It's more like progressive folk, psychedelic folk, avant-garde folk. So actually I'm going to include them in my folk genre and a couple videos down from this one. So anyway, yeah, we're looking at 1971, and it's intense. It's an avalanche of experimental and music across the board. It's pretty mind-boggling to see how much came out in that 1 year. This came out a few days after Hunky Dory, December 20th. George Harrison, Concert for Bangladesh. And you had Jesse Ed Davis on rhythm guitar. On this particular track, I couldn't find who was on this particular track, so I'm just gonna say like some of the people that were part of the band in general, not all the other special artists that came. But as far as the band, there was Jesse Ed Davis on rhythm guitar. He played with Taj Mahal before and after or something. Tom Evans on acoustic guitar, Pete Ham on acoustic guitar, Mike Gibbons on percussion, Jim Keltner on drums, Carl Radel on bass guitar, which I think we're going to see him sometime later also, Klaus Vorman on bass guitar. I think he played with John Lennon on his solo album. Hollywood Horns, Jim Horn, Chuck Finley, Jackie Kelso, Alan Butler, Lou McCreary, and Ollie Mitchell. And then you had the Soul Choir, Claudie Lanier, Joe Green, Jeannie Green, Marlon Green, Don Nix, and Dolores Hall. And let's get into it. And then we're going to talk a little bit more, and we're going to round out this not really best of, a retrospective of 1971.
My friend came to me, sadness in his eye, told me that he wanted help for his country life. Although I couldn't feel the pain, I knew I had to try. Now I'm asking all of you to help us save some lives. Bangladesh, Bangladesh, where so many people are dying fast, and it sure looks like a man. Never seen such distress. I want to
waiting to pause it. I didn't want to pause it, but now I feel like I need to pause it because I want to jump back and play that part again. Because I was thinking like, oh, where's the choir? I was like, when the horns come in, it goes to another level, and it's so tight. Like I was like, did they rehearse? How much did they rehearse this? Because it seems so tight for that many people to be on the stage. And I'm missing some people. I don't know if it was Leon Russell, but I mentioned the guitar and bass and the horns and the singers and drums, but there's organ on there. So I was like, who's playing organ? I don't know if it's Leon Russell. I forget all the people that were guests. They had the special spots with this other than Dylan, Leon Russell, Eric Clapton. I forget the other people that were playing on this whole album, but I don't know if they were all on stage at the end. So yeah, if you know some of the other people that were on stage actually playing during this final performance on Bangladesh, I'd be interested to know. But anyway, the organ, when the horns come in, yeah, it's like on another level. And I was like, oh, if the choir comes in, that would raise it to another level. But then the audience all of a sudden comes in. I was like, what was it that spurred them on? Was it something where they were just excited from the fervor of the music, or was it something that was happening on stage that they were being like somehow cued to just let it out, because they're not on, I assume they're not like, they are recording, so I'm sure they didn't want the audience like jeering and being loud the whole time during the recordings, right? So maybe they just were mic'd, and they let them into some part of the mix all of a sudden as part of some production decision. So anyway, yeah, I mean, I've heard this before, but it still feels like I'm being, right off the bat, it was the tempo that I wasn't expecting, and the drums to me are just like so forceful. And I forgot it had such a sort of like kind of like reggae. It reminds me of the Neville Brothers tune Yellow Moon. It's like doon 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 doon. But yeah, it has that same flavor. I forgot Bangladesh had that. I don't know. So anyway, yeah, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed and off put by this. But yeah, it's so great. I need to. So I'm gonna back it up. I don't know where, but hopefully it's before a little bit more horns and where the audience comes in. I'll put it like maybe 20 seconds back. All right, let's finish this out. This is amazing. All right, I'll probably fade that out some for everybody. Anyway, that was Bangladesh live. Yeah, just freaking flawless. It's really amazing how tight that many people. I don't know. I think they did play it before. They did it in part of the concert, so maybe this was their second time. A sort of ovation, or had more people playing on top of it, playing with it. But yeah, so tight. The horns, yeah, sounded amazing. And those couple horn solos, I don't know if that was Jim Horn or saxophone, or Jackie Kelso or Alan Butler. But God, so powerful. Yeah, and then the audience came in. That really just took it over. We really felt the heightened aspect of it. God, you get chills. I got chills just from thinking I was in the audience. Hearing the audience, just like, ugh, felt like the experience you might get from just spiritual. Anyway, yeah, so that's Bangladesh, concert for Bangladesh. George Harrison with help from Ravi Shankar. He's another one that they had a performance on there with Ravi Shankar and some other members there. Yeah, finally released December 20th. I think it was recorded a good bit earlier, but they had because they had so many people on the album. Apparently there was a lot of issues trying to get the rights to, from all the different artists that they had on it, which I'll go into. So up to August 1971, when George and Ravi and friends took the stage in August, 10 million East Pakistanis refugees had fled over the border into India with scant hope of surviving inevitable hunger and disease. The concerts were attended by 40,000 people, and initial gate receipts raised close to $250,000 administered by UNICEF, which in 1971, that probably seemed like a lot of money. Nowadays we would probably consider that more of a failure, but after collecting the musicians easily, Harrison found it extremely difficult to get the recording industry to release the rights for performers to share the stage, and millions of dollars raised from the album and film were tied up in IRS tax escrow account for years. By 1985, an estimated $12 million had been sent to Bangladesh 14 years later. Scouring through 1971 for rock, like I said, we talked about honorable mentions, a lot of the albums, other, prominent releases between, Pink Floyd, Zeppelin, The Doors. I mean, the list goes on. There's probably 50 to 100 really great artists that came out, either their debut albums or one of their further releases. I can't imagine. I was looking at the Billboard. I want to download the Billboard magazine for 1971, and you see all the new albums coming out, whether it was, I don't know if it came out weekly or monthly, but it's just ridiculous. I don't know what people were paid back then. Probably, $2 an hour? Who knows what it was? Like, how could you even keep up with all of this? We talk about information overload nowadays, and for sure information, but just if music was coming out at this rate, that was, and that's just getting the music, not even going to see the music, going to see it live. Like, how would you, on a weekend, you could have 10 different, I'm not sure how much they toured, how much they were available to go see and how you would get there, but it seems like you would have, 10 bands to choose from, on any given weekend. Like, oh, I can't go see David Bowie, I'm going to go see Crazy Horse, or I'm going to go see Marvin Gaye, or it's like ridiculous how much music came out then. And luckily, even though everybody who's not born at that time didn't get to live through that, they can at least experience the music through that sort of retrospective, and I'm trying to get an eyeball onto it, and see like, oh, what was going on, where all of a sudden all this stuff was just this flood of great music, and obviously musicians are inspired by lots of things and inspired a lot by other musicians. So I'm sure, a lot of stuff is it was just a buildup of the period, the 60s, the late 60s, and just a buildup where you realize you could do anything. And we're going to go into those different genres that's going to show that you could do anything, whether it was jazz, world music, fusion, electronic, folk, you could be anything and play anything you wanted. And now, how much you were heard, that's another thing I said, because there's a lot of competition out there. This was a triple LP set in December 1971. It went on to top the UK charts, reached number 2 on the Billboard 200, and in 1973, the record was honored with the Grammy Award for Album of the Year. Anyway, I think I picked a few good albums here to jump on. So we had Crazy Horse, a great debut. Another debut, David Crosby, and David Bowie, Hunky Dory, and then Bangladesh by George Harrison, and Friends, and a lot of other people. But yeah, overall, great concert. So let me see. That's going to round out the rock genre for 1971. I've kind of gone into some of the culture at the time, some of the things that were happening in 1971. some of the singles that were popular. Obviously, there's a lot of other music that we would consider just, for the masses, bubblegum pop. But there's a lot of everything, so there was definitely something for anybody. Probably too much for any one person to handle. It seemed like 1971 was definitely an apex of people really experimenting. And this is a year for, what are my associations with this music? Yeah, I mean, I definitely, I know a lot of this music, but because there's so much, like I said, I'm going to be listening to some new music. On this particular one, on the rock genre, obviously I've a lot of my history, I listened to a lot of, some of the mainstream music and classic rock, folk stuff from this period. So on this one, I'd pretty much, other than Crazy Horse, I'd obviously heard, I had, experience. I've dug deep into David Bowie. I've listened to a lot of Crosby, Stills and Nash and a lot of the solo music. Obviously George Harrison is a huge, I loved his solo stuff. I loved the Beatles. I loved his solo stuff particularly. Him and John Lennon mainly. Yeah, definitely took a lot from that. But Crazy Horse, really cool to hear Downtown by them. I'm gonna have to dig into the rest of their album a little bit more. But so far, yeah, I'm gonna end it there. And hope you come back for the next part of the series, and give me anything in the comments where you want me to delve any deeper into any of the rock field, any particular album that you want to do an album listen. I'm always doing a variety of things, whether it's a chronological year, or digging into a particular artist or a particular album, or even if it's just a song. It's something that if I listen to, I may turn it into a exploration or reaction. So I appreciate everybody here. It's really fun. I love hearing from people. In the last one I did about Jimi Hendrix, I had a lot of people chime in, and I love getting, either requests or just people, talking about their association, their history with the music, other things, even especially facts. Give me any research, anything that's, curious, that's gonna, make me dig a little deeper, or give me some, I'd love to hear it. So anyway, hope you enjoyed it. And on to the next one. We're going to do blues, I think. We're going to go into the blues genre, which obviously took a little bit of hit relatively in the 70s. Blues had kind of already maybe gone through its peak a little bit, or its second generation of blues artists. Maybe it was the third or fourth, really, if you really go back. 20s, and then 30s, then you had the 40s and 50s and 60s. It kind of had its resurgence. By the time the 70s, there's always stuff there, but maybe out of all the styles of music, the blues had maybe the least amount of quantity. Still had the quality, obviously, but the quantity, was kind of starting to wane a little bit. But yeah, please go to my community tab. If you don't like, if you're not worrying about some of the albums up there that I've put as options, put another album. I'll add another one to the list, just like that. So, and for any stuff that I can't get up for blocked, stuff like that, I'm really trying to find a way to get it up. I'll put the song. You can download it on the YouTube site if you want to listen along, or I'll put it towards Patreon, and you can listen to it there for free. So. You can go around this area and just I'll put the song on my drive, and you can just download it and listen to it with me just like that. So any stuff that's going to be blocked easily, King Crimson or otherwise, I'll be happy to do any of that stuff, and it's not a problem. You guys just have to know how to get there with me. All right. Anyway, I'll be on the next one, and thanks for being here. Hope you enjoyed it, and take care. Bye-bye.